Hey everyone, this is Stevie here, and today I'm reviewing my iPhone SE. So, just like my first video with the the Note 3, I'm going to be covering 5 subjects. First is specs, then I believe it was design, performance, camera, and then my conclusion. So let's head right on in. So this phone's essentially an iPhone 6s when it comes to specs. The only differences are, I believe, the Touch ID and the front-facing camera. So let's head on into the specs of this phone. Right on the front is a 4-inch display at 640 by 1136 pixels, which it roughly accounts to 326 pixels per inch. It has, well, at least this model has 64 gig of storage inside, but it also comes in a 16 gig variant, and it has 2 gig of RAM. It has the dual-core Apple A9 processor, which is the exact same thing as the iPhone 6s, and so is the RAM. On the rear, it has a 12 megapixel f2.2 camera at 29mm. Now this is the exact same camera from the iPhone 6s because, again, this phone is essentially an iPhone 6s just in that special edition body, which is the iPhone 5s body. On the front, however, this is where the differences come in on this phone. So instead of having, I think it's a 7 megapixel camera on the iPhone 6s, this one has a 1.2 megapixel camera at f2.4. So only 720p at 30 fps recording, which is not great. It's one of the, probably the downfalls of this phone is that low resolution front-facing camera. For the fingerprint sensor on the front, it also is not the second generation Touch ID, but it's also faster than the first generation, so it's a little bit in between. It's a mix between like the iPhone 6 and the 6s. Now we're moving on to design. So right now I have a clear case on my phone because, well, I wanted a clear case so that I could see the phone, because I think that the iPhone 5s is probably the best designed phone ever. It's just gorgeous looking. The only difference between this and the iPhone 5s is that it has a new rose gold color, and the edges are no longer polished. They're sort of just a chamfered matte color, which is a really nice look. And overall, I just think that this phone is gorgeous. It looks really nice in different lightings, and it's just really nice to feel. So design-wise, I'd give this thing a 10 out of 10. Honestly, I've never really seen a phone that I like the design more of. So that brings us to performance. I think that this phone is really fast, actually. It's really great, but the one place where I wish that Apple would change their methods a little bit is with the multitasking. See, with like my M8, it may not be as fast as this when opening up applications, but when you switch between them, you can use them instantly, where this has a slight bit of lag before it actually refreshes it, and that's a huge issue for me because I'd much rather have a phone that can open apps from the multitasking much faster and you be able to use them between, like the multitasking, a lot faster than a phone that can open an app a second faster than the other one from a cold start. The only area where I actually see the increased performance of the SE shine in usability is the camera, because any Android phone that I've had yet so far, besides like my father's Nexus 6P, their cameras take forever to load and they take forever to close, and it sort of like refreshes the whole operating system when they close. So this having the ability just to open up real fast and close real fast as if it was just some other application, that's awesome. And that's the one area where I see the speed of loading an app to be beneficial. Overall for speed, I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I really can't distinguish, like if I was using an M8 and I was using this as a daily driver, you would almost think that the M8 was faster sometimes, because if you don't see any stutter or lag in the M8, which I'm going to do another review on because I've been using it again and it's great. But if it's not lagging, then it's a really fast phone. It opens apps fast, it closes them fast, quick animations, plus the ability to switch between apps super fast and fluid. It's just really great. And so when using it compared to this almost seems a little slower because the multitasking just isn't as fast and the animations are a little longer or drawn out. So yeah, I think that this is a 7 out of 10 in performance-wise. Camera. So I think that the camera on this phone obviously is the best smartphone camera that I've ever used, considering that my only other two cameras that I've used on smartphones like regularly were, you know, my M8, which has a 4 ultra pixel camera, and the Note 3, which came out like nearly 4 years ago soon. So I think that this phone camera is great for a smartphone camera, but I still just don't like it as much as a DSLR. I'm just very biased. But overall, as a smartphone camera, it's great. You don't have much controls besides just that shutter, or that, not shutter, but exposure value control, where, you know, you can exposure lock and then just drag it down or up to make it brighter or darker. That's really the only actual options that you have, and I really wish that we had more options, like an S6 or an S7 comes with built-in options just to do a pro mode, so then you can, you know, change the shutter speed, the ISO, the aperture, you know, not the aperture, obviously it's a fixed aperture, but you know, it's just great to have that added level of control. And I'm actually going to be doing a separate video specifically just to show you the camera on this phone, and that's going to be more comprehensive. I think that overall it's a very solid shooter. Low light, it's not so great because, you know, it turns down that shutter speed, you get some shaky shots, but far less than I've ever had on any other smartphone, because, you know, it has that sort of image stabilization, that not optical, but digital image stabilization, that's it. That's only in video. I wish they had that in photo, because sometimes when I'm taking photos and it's a little darker, it'll get a little blurred. So the video, when you're taking video, it sort of seems shaky, but when you watch the video afterwards, it's a lot smoother. It's definitely nowhere close to an optical image stabilization system, but it is really great for, you know, digital software. That's it, software image stabilization. So overall, as a camera, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It does well, but my main concern with it is that, like, even today I just saw a sunset and the sun was glowing orange and everything in my house was orange. It was just pouring this beautiful light everywhere. I go open the camera app on this, and the color temperatures seem a lot cooler than they actually do in real life, and by that I mean, you know, not as vibrant. And I'm the kind of guy who would rather have it be the exact opposite, where it's more rich than real life, and I just think that that's sort of a downer for me, because you can't really capture the actual beauty of like that sunset, because it just makes the orange glow from the sunset look like slightly a darker shade of normal sunlight. So it was sort of a bummer for me to see that, and it just showed me that really it's a lot cooler temperatures, and it's not even really true to life, because it was cooler than what life looked like. So I would rather have it be warmer temperatures, so then it looks more rich and vivid, rather than it be too cool. Finally, for my conclusion. So, would I recommend this phone? Definitely. Especially if you're looking for a smaller smartphone and you don't want something in like that 5-inch category. I found this to be extremely usable in one hand. It's super easy, and like especially with iPhones, where you have to sort of either swipe from the side of the screen or go all the way up to the top and hit that left back button. That is a major issue, having a larger phone screen, but with this I never had that issue. Obviously with Android that's a little less, because you do have those back and forward, or not back and forward, but you know, your back and your multitask buttons, so you don't really have to reach all the way across the side of the phone or all the way up to the left corner. So that's really nice on Android, but without that on iOS, it is nice having a smaller screen so that you don't have to switch you don't have to move your hand all the way up the phone and just, you know, hit that. Another area where I would be suggesting this phone is if you want an iPhone and you don't want to spend too much money, because even iPhone 6s's are more expensive, like really expensive still. This has a little better battery life than the 6s, and it's a great way to get into the Apple ecosystem if you want to try it out. And I got mine brand new for $430 with 64 gig of storage. Not that expensive compared to like full flagship phones like the iPhone 7 Plus, which, you know, starts at like $750 I think. So it's a huge discount, and you get to try out Apple with the added benefit of having some of their latest and greatest specs, Definitely it's a great fast phone, and it's a great way to showcase what Apple has to offer before you actually spend too much of an investment into it. Plus, these phones keep great resale value, like the iPhone 5S, which came out like 3 years ago. A 16 gig model on eBay used is still like $200. So obviously this one's gonna retain its value a little bit better. So overall, I would definitely recommend this phone if you can buy it, or if you were looking for an iPhone but didn't want to spend too much money, or if you were looking for an iPhone that has slightly better battery life than the 6S but you don't want that huge form factor of the iPhone 6S Plus or 7 Plus. So overall, it's a great midway device. It has great specs, great camera. Overall, it's just great. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you thought this was informative and it helped you out at all, and have a nice day.